Any last thoughts?
Yeah, it's fucked.
I think I'm on board with you there.
Danger Dolan.
Warlords of Draenor gear is awful. It's full of confusing, randomly assigned stats. Is my Warforged better than my socket piece? Do I choose tertiary stats or the secondary stats that are actually useful? I don't know what's going on. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I think this is going to get quite a confusing video because you hit the nail on the head. I don't think we know what the hell's going on.
No,
We
no one does.
legitimately do not know what's going on.
I've been on websites where they have like conflicting information. Like, Ask Mr. Robot says this one thing, you know, Noxix says this other thing, Elitist Jerk says this other thing. It's like, oh.
So even trying to use the spreadsheets, so to speak, which are commonly referred to as, trying to use them just isn't helping whatsoever. What I do know is obviously each spec has a major stat assigned to it. So in the case of a warlock, if you're a destruction warlock, you should be looking to stack crit. If you're an affliction warlock, you should be stacking haste, and if you're a demonology warlock, you should be looking to stack mastery. The problem is, because of the nature of the stats, and how powerful secondary stats now are, to a degree where you're now, instead of putting intelligence gems as your primary gem, you're now putting your secondary stat. So if you get a socket on a piece of gear, you're not putting intel in anymore, or strength, or well, depending on what class you are. But for a warlock especially, I'm putting crit because I'm a demonology warlock, destruction warlock even. I'm not a demonology warlock at all. But then you have to look at like, right, I need to get myself some gear. So I'm going to use my Apexis crystals, which I've just been farming for a fucking goddamn week, so I can buy a piece of gear, trundle off to the vendor, and I'm like, not one of these pieces of gear from the Apexis vendor has crit on. So now it's absolutely fucking useless for me. So all this Apexis crystal gear, out the window. Can't use it. I need crit. I need to find crit. You know, I might be able to just buy a piece to hold off in the meantime if I was wearing something really shitty. But I'm raiding heroic, so that gear is already relevant to me. And so I won the shoulders from Butcher in the first week of Heimel when we were just starting off doing normal, and it procced Warforged 661 shoulders. Which had haste and I think haste mastery on them. I had to swap those 661 level shoulders out for some shoulders that I won in Raid Finder that were 640 because they had crit on them, which was much more important to me as a player than the other stats from the 661. So although that's 21 item levels higher, my DPS increased because I had the crit shoulders from LFR. And in anyone's book, that is fucked up.
Yeah, when Ask Mr. Robot is telling me to equip like lower eye level gear just because it has slightly better stats, like, I'm like, come on, I want to progress. Like, that's not progression. That's just a weird stat sheet, thing that I don't even want to happen. If you think about the journey you take as you progress through the game, the RNG journey, right? Yeah. Okay, so when you first start the expansion, right, you're gearing up through dungeons. Let's say you're missing a neck piece because neck pieces and trinkets and stuff are difficult to get, right? So I would look at my best in slot list from Ask Mr. Robot, and I would spend tons of my resources to get the bonus rolls. You're looking for a guild, you finally find one, right? You commit entire chunks of your life to a schedule. Your family resents you, your pet dies from malnutrition, all the stuff that comes with progressive rating. And then you defeat the same boss 8 million times, like you said with the Butcher, right? Yeah. And finally, after all of this, your neck piece finally drops, right? And then you're rolling against like 24 other, or 29 other people. You lose the roll, all right? You have lost the neck piece. So now you have to kill the boss 8 million more times, all right? Yeah. Eventually, all right, after all this excruciating effort, all right, finally, your neck piece drops again. You miraculously win the roll out of all these other people rolling for it, all right? And then you'll look at the fucking neck piece. It's the wrong stats, all right? It after all of this neck piece is useless to you. That doesn't feel good at all. It's awful.
No, but I mean,
terrible.
at least with the raiding stuff, the stats are fixed. But with like the dungeoneering and stuff, the stats aren't. But because you're now really trying to go for those secondary stats because of how much they do genuinely boost your DPS or help you tanking or help you healing or whatever. When is it ever a good thing in an MMO that you are looking to have to equip lower level gear to improve your performance? It's
much
bad enough for raiders, who do have to look at the nth degree of DPS and tanking and healing and stuff like that because they're looking to progress in their guilds. But if you've got a casual player, this is where I really feel for a casual player who majority of the time, I'm not saying all of them, but I'm saying the majority of the time, they'll be operating off the assumption that higher item level gear equals better. And you can't knock them for that assumption because that's how it should be. So now, you could have a Destro Warlock who's got 640 level gear, gets taken into a pug run of high more normal, and then somebody says, "What the fuck, get rid of this Destro Lock, he's just in a bunch of fucking haste gear." And they'd be like, "Noob," and he gets kicked. It's just like, what? But I've got 640 level gear. Oh yeah, but you ain't got the right stats, mate. Fuck off. Don't know your class LTP.
They're all complaining about reforging for ages because of how it could have a system that would automatically roll or change all the stats for you. And then at BlizzCon they showed the what was it, the PowerPoint presentation where they it said like removed reforging, and it was a loud applause, right? And I was waiting, right? I was just kind of silently waiting to see what their solution to the whole getting rid of reforging was going to be.
Yeah.
No, they didn't talk about it at all. They just tunnel visioned on, oh no, I don't like that the system is getting automated by add-ons. Let's just remove it entirely and keep the problem.
Yeah.
That's not good. Didn't they have a board meeting where they were like, oh,
this is better than reforging.
It did.
This is worse than reforging. Massively worse.
Yeah.
Because we don't even know, I mean, let's be honest, do you really know how powerful versatility is?
Yeah, you read the stat on your character sheet, and it just says like reduces damage by like 0.013%. It's like
increases damage and then reduces damage taken.
And then the other stats are like parry and like your chance to parry is increased by like 23. Like I don't know what the fuck's the difference. Like I mean that's so minute. I need spreadsheets.
Versatility is like, right, so it's boosting my damage by 3.2% and it's reducing the damage by 6.1. That sounds really good. And then you go to Mr. Robot and ask Mr. Robot or whatever, and they'll go, no, it's shit.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell! What? And then you get avoidance as a tertiary stat, and you'll be like, cool, this is really good. And then you'll think, right, what does avoidance do? Well, it operates like avoidance does on a pet. It reduces the amount of AoE damage that you take. So you've got a couple of pieces of tertiary gear, and they've got avoidance on them, and you've managed to accrue 120 points of avoidance, and then you look at your stats, and it says, reduces the AoE damage that you take by 0.73%. Well, whoop-de-fucking-do? That's not going to save me. That's useless. That's irrelevant. That's completely fucking useless. Leech, where you're like, awesome, lifesteal. It used to be called lifesteal. Leech, where you're doing damage and you're sucking damage, you're sucking life out of them. Sounds really cool. And again, 0.21. It's just like, oh, for fuck's sake. This is irrelevant nonsense. No wonder we're stacking fucking crit haste and mastery like they're going out of fashion, because they are legitimately having some sort of effect on our gear. I equipped some crit shoulders, I see my crit go from 18.1% to 19.7%. Oh, hello. I'm actually seeing a physical, legitimate increase in my crit chances here. But, you know, so these additional stats, I'm not necessarily talking about, you know, these tertiary stats just seem absolute bollocks. And then this versatility that comes in, I don't care what spreadsheet you go on, they're all saying versatility is just shit. You know, so Blizzard they've either got to do something with versatility to make it more worthwhile as a potential stat, or it's got to come in as a potential stat where if you don't get the crit, you know, the crit shoulders that you need because you're a Destro lock, or you don't get the crit because you're or haste or whatever because you're a Disc Priest. Apparently haste is quite big, or Shadow Priest, whatever haste is good for. That versatility is going to hold that piece of gear as a worthwhile piece of gear, that it says, right, I know you haven't got the crit shoulders but you don't have to swap out that 661 Warforged that you got from the Butcher to the 640 from LFR, because it can compensate.
Well, I know that Tom Chilton mentioned that the game has too many secondary stats. They introduced too many secondary stats, and they mentioned it's something.
Ones, Tom.
Yeah, a lot of shit ones, and it's something they need to refine. I was watching an interview with the devs with, I think it was Convert to Raid, their podcast, and when they were asked about kind of these stats and which ones you need spreadsheets for and which ones are optimized for your spec and class, their response was just like, well, a lot of people wouldn't be doing that. And like the hosts of the show were like, are you sure? It's kind of a big deal to a lot of people. You know, that those increases to your character. I mean, anything that helps the raid is something you should probably be concerned with.
Yeah. Well, very much so. This is why we are really looking to these secondary stats as our breadwinners now, because of the effects that they do have on the character. I went down, like I said, I've talked about this going down. I actually went down, and my guild leader actually said to me, we're having a chat together after a raid together, just him and me, and he said to me, I noticed that you've lowered your item level and did better damage than last week. And I was like, yeah.
That's
like,
awful.
he said it was good to know that somebody has the nonce to say, look, I'm going to go down a few item levels here to increase my damage. But at the same time, we were just laughing at how ludicrous that was to do. So now I'm literally crafting 2 sets of gear, because of the 7 fights in Highmall, I do 5 of them as Destruction, and I do 2 of them as Affliction. I do Tectus and I do Twin Ogron as Affliction. All the rest I do as Destro. So I've actually now got to start crafting an Affliction set, as you know, as well as the Destro set that I've got, which is something that it didn't really have to do before, even with reforging. You know, you didn't really have to do that in the last expansion. You just switch specs. You just press N, switch specs. But now it's like, no, I've got to then put those 661 shoulders back on, because they've got haste, and that's of course the primary stat now for Affliction. So I'm walking around now with a PvP set under construction, an Affliction set under fucking construction, and of course wearing my Destro set, which I do more of the time. So this great freeing up of bag space, which Blizzard had done, is now just getting filled up with more fucking sets of gear, because they're gonna fuck the stats up.
Yeah, I think possibly a solution to them getting rid of reforging might have been, you know how on blacksmithing where you can, I don't know if this is every profession, but on blacksmithing how you can get the thing that randomizes stats on blacksmithing gear.
Yeah, you can do that with the other ones, the professional ones you're talking about here, though.
Yeah. If they had a system where, kind of like the bonus roll for gear, where, alright, so a piece of gear drops and it has some certain stats, right? And you give it to the person who needs it the most, who those stats would benefit. If not, instead of just sharding the thing, what if you could give it to someone and then they could roll to randomize the stats, maybe just once, as they get the gear, as just that one time, to see if it's better. If you want to make it so that you can't trade it, you know, like fair enough or something like that, or if you just want to make it so that the group leader can roll the stats and then give it to whoever maybe needs the new stats. And then after that, you just can't roll the stats again. It gives you another chance to make it so that the gear's not useless.
We had a recent discussion about professions and how they done fucked up that as well. This would be a perfect opportunity for some of the professions which got nothing to do but twiddle their thumbs now, to be able to craft something which can give you the option. It could be a very expensive item to craft. I'm not talking about something dirt easy, but something that could be like 50 of the main true steel bar or whatever it is, where you can create something that can just randomize the stat of any piece of gear relevant to that profession. So if it was tailoring, it could do cloth. If it was leatherworking, it could do leather and mail. And if it was blacksmithing, it could do plate and whatnot. But something along that kind of line, instead of lumbering us, or just do something with the fucking stats full stop. Just do something proper with the fucking stats. Maybe make pieces that instead of having the stats preordained on them, the stats are determined by the spec that you want them to be. So it would say on here, this boss is going to drop cloth shoulders, it's going to drop plate legs, and it's going to drop a staff. Full stop. And then you go, right, and whoever wins that, it works off the spec that you set yourself to. So I set myself to Destruction Lock. I win myself the cloth shoulders. It comes to me, it's got crit plus X.
Ooh, I'm not sure about that actually, because if you did that, that means everyone's rolling on every piece of gear. The fact that there's a kind of a randomized stat means that even if the piece that, say, someone in the raid needs, let's say there's like 10 mages or something, and they all need this... Well, there is this way you can do it, right? So if you have like a personal kind of gear system, when you get a piece of gear... maybe just like how when you open a 670 piece of gear from a mission, how you can prioritize a slot. So in this case, all right, when you get a piece of gear, maybe you can prioritize stats. It's still random, so it still might not be ideal for you. But that would only work if it was personal loot. You'd have to be talking about a system where you could give the gear to the raid leader, and he'd be able to randomize the stats. He couldn't just give it to someone and always have it be the stats for that person. It's kind of a slippery slope there. But once again, if you just fix the fucking stat system, we wouldn't even need to be talking about doing all these workarounds.
Yeah, I mean we're brain farting in a video. We're not stuck around a board meeting with months and months of planning about this. We are two guys having a whinge and a moan because we're having to create more fucking professions. We don't more gear, I should say, for our specs. We don't know what the fuck's going on with the new ones that are coming, because according to all the spreadsheets, they're all shit. So what was the point of even bringing them in? Tertiary stats offer nothing whatsoever. That make them of any real relevance at all.
Insignificant boosts.
Yeah, because you can't stack them, so they just become absolutely irrelevant.
And also, I had a piece of gear that replaced the stat with indestructible, which means it doesn't get any of that repair. Yeah, like what the fuck? I don't want that. That's stupid. That. I don't mind paying like $2 to repair it. I want a real stat.
Yeah, give me a tertiary stat. Oh, but there again, it's fucking irrelevant anyway. So actually, maybe indestructible was the best option because it saves me a little bit of gold.
I think it gave me like a bonus in haste. Like, so I got like double the haste. But even then, like, if I don't like haste, I mean, indestructible and haste, like, what is this? I don't want this. This is garbage.
At least with reforging, if you got gear with stats that you didn't want, you could fucking reforge them.
Yeah, I didn't like the fact that it was so automated. I agree with Blizzard there, but I don't think the solution they come up with has worked in any way.
It's made it worse. I mean, it has legitimately made it worse because there is a huge state of confusion. As I've also, as we've discussed, you're going down in item levels to make you more powerful, which is just the most dumb fuckery thing I've ever heard. Especially when the whole point of an MMORPG is constant progression. You know, you go and do high maul heroic because you want to get better stuff than your high maul normal. You don't do high maul heroic so you can equip a piece of fucking LFR gear because it does more damage. It's just absolute nonsense. That kind of stuff is absolute nonsense. And the worst thing is, the likelihood is they're probably not going to be able to do anything in this expansion about it. It's going to most likely require a brand new expansion to fix what's going on here.
Any last thoughts?
Yeah, it's fucked.
I think I'm on board with you there.
It's really fucked. I'm really confused.
At the very least, like, make it so that when we inspect the stats on a character sheet, that it's not confusing. That it doesn't look like it's like 0.01% increase. I mean, that's stuff. If you're a casual player, you don't know what the fuck's going on.
No,
like,
if you're going to bring new stats in, make them worthwhile, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Make versatility worthwhile. Make it, you know, as if, right, I've got versatility. I didn't get crit, but it doesn't matter because I got versatility, so I'm doing 3% more damage because of this versatility that I've got in my gear. Or whatever, but make them of some worth. Not that every spreadsheet says, you got versatility. Unlucky. Which is what's happening.
Even just make it so that it highlights which stats are best for your spec. I mean, why even are we going to websites to check out spreadsheets? Why not just build into the game so that we just know which ones to do?
Didn't want anyone to do. Didn't want anyone to have to go to an external website to determine what was the best piece of gear for them to equip. And what they've done, they've now made it compulsory to start checking out all different manner, not just one now, because you can't rely on Mr. Robot. You've got to look at the others to see what they're saying about the same stuff. Because, like I said, it's all conflicting gear. It is fucked.
Yep, it is not the best.